you miss me? Since the earliest of civilizations, all we've wanted to do is build a really big triangle. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the Teocalli of the Aztecs, and of course, the pyramids of Egypt. For a time, we accepted the explanation that this was inspired by the divine, either in worship of the gods or in service of a journey into the afterlife. But it's all been building to the true purpose of these temples. A Bass Pro Shops megastore. Why'd it take us so long to think of that? As a native of the Memphis area, the story of this monument to the god of capitalism and fish is a given. But for those of you out there not blessed with the knowledge of this 9th largest pyramid in the world, I guess a little background info couldn't hurt. And yes, this is the 9th largest pyramid in the world, and it sells you fishing gear, boats, and overpriced hamburgers. Before we get too deep, it's probably worth noting that this is not the first time Memphis has built a pyramid. During the Tennessee Centennial Exposition of 1897, cities from across the state came together to create around 100 structures in honor of 100 years of statehood. The Memphis building was a replica of the Great Pyramid of Giza. They did this because Memphis is named after a city in Egypt, so obviously that means we need a model of the biggest pyramid. Fun fact. Pause for the fun fact tune. Hey everybody, it's time for a fun fact. This is also the origin story of the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. It was known as the Athens of the South, not to be confused with the actual Athens in the South in Georgia, so they built a replica of the famous temple in Athens, Greece, and now we have a movie where Logan Lerman uses magic flying shoes to steal a pearl from a replica of a statue of Athena while fighting a CGI Hydra, and then goes and listens to Poker Face in an evil casino. See? Sometimes the fun facts can actually be fun. Back to the pyramid we all know and love, though. In 1954, a local artist named Mark C. Hartz had the idea of creating 3 pyramids, each at 2/3 the size of the pyramids of Giza. Then, a whole lot of nothing happened. After a bunch of boring waiting around and redesigning, the project was finally picked up in order to symbolize Memphis. There was a groundbreaking ceremony in 1989 using a comically large shovel, and in 1991, the pyramid was finished. The original plans were unfortunately still too large for life. They only ended up making 1 pyramid, not 3, and as construction went on, they had to cut out things like a Hard Rock Cafe, a glass elevator, a college football Hall of Fame, and a radio station. What was left was a measly 321-foot-tall pyramid. The plan to create a tourist trap in Memphis to rival the likes of the St. Louis Arch certainly didn't land a perfect 10, but for just over a decade, it had its moments. The pyramid was home to the University of Memphis Tigers basketball team and a short-term arena for the Memphis Grizzlies while the FedEx Forum was being built. Stars like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant also played at what became known as the Tomb of Doom, a name it received due to the very peculiar acoustics. Thanks to the shape of the pyramid, sound tended to gather towards the top and created a very deafening environment for audience and players alike. Certainly an electrifying feeling for the home team and a devastating distraction for the visitors. Knowing this, it might be shocking to hear some of the names that played concerts at this acoustic nightmare. Mary J. Blige, the Rolling Stones, the Grateful Dead, even Phish performed at the pyramid. And Phish actually released a recording of their concert called Memphis 99, in case you want to know what it sounded like in there. I haven't listened to it because it's a Phish album, but you do you. But the biggest event to be held at the pyramid wasn't a concert or a basketball game of any kind. It was a boxing match between Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis for the WBC world title. This thing was like the Olympics. People were everywhere, and they could not stop talking about the fight. Media from all over came to the city of Memphis, and for just a brief moment, this was the center of the world. The pyramid was finally living up to its full potential, and then the Grizzlies came to town. The pyramid was already a college-level basketball arena, but it wasn't quite up to snuff in the professional world, which wasn't a major problem until the Vancouver Grizzlies agreed to relocate to Memphis and included a clause in their contract requiring the city to either update the pyramid, or build a new arena to meet the professional standards. After weighing the costs, the city decided that building a brand new arena would be cheaper and got to work on the FedEx Forum. Great news for basketball lovers, but not so hot for the pyramid fanatics. You see, there was this tiny, insignificant little thing called a non-compete clause that meant that the pyramid couldn't serve as much of anything without the team's approval. And for whatever reason, the Grizzlies didn't approve of much. In 2007, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band played the last concert to ever grace the walls of the Memphis Pyramid, but other than that, it just sat there. A multi-million-dollar paperweight for what must have been a huge stack of paper. But fate, as always, had greater plans. No one loved the idea of just leaving the pyramid empty, so there were plenty of potential ideas that popped up throughout its dormancy. There were talks of a casino, a shopping mall, an aquarium, and even a megachurch at one point. What, you forgot this was the Bible Belt? Of course someone tried to turn the pyramid into a megachurch. Unfortunately for them, and fortunately for us, none of those projects had the follow-through. It was going to take a truly wild and dedicated idea to once again fill the pyramid with the joyous crowds it had once known. Enter Johnny Morris and Bill Dance. Morris, the founder of Bass Pro Shops, was looking to open a flagship location in Memphis, and he was hoping Dance could help him pick the right spot, and for good reason. Bill Dance is a famous fisherman from Memphis with his very own TV show to boot, so it seemed like if anyone could help pick the perfect spot for a new store, he would be the one. Dance suggested the currently dead pyramid, and the two discussed how feasible it would be to gut the building and install an indoor swamp. You know, as you do. Morris left the decision of whether to pull the trigger to Dance, but he kept dodging the question. No one wants to be the guy that says that putting an outdoor sporting goods store inside of a giant pyramid is a good idea if the whole thing goes to shit. After enough badgering, though, Dance put aside his fears in favor of good sense and agreed that the crazy-ass people of Memphis would love the idea. After all the pressure it took to get that out of him, though, Morris wasn't fully convinced. Luckily for us, he decided to leave the choice up to destiny. On a seemingly normal day in 2005, 4 men got on a boat to go catfishing in the Mississippi River. Morris and Dance were among those present. None of them realized that by the time they got back off that boat, they would have made a multi-million-dollar decision. Jim Hagel, the president of Bass Pro Shops, had been calling Morris all day in order to get his final decision for a press conference, so the pressure was on to make the call. Morris, who still hadn't fully decided what to do yet, decided to leave it all up to a simple bet. If any of them were to catch a catfish that was 30 pounds or more, he would turn the Memphis Pyramid into a star. On the first day of the fishing trip, they failed to meet the weight. So, on day 2, they decided to move location. If this trip was going to decide the pyramid's future, they wanted to keep it in sight while they fished. Late into the afternoon, Hagel called Morris again to ask him if he had made his final decision, and before Morris could stall for more time, a rod doubled over, and just like that, a 34-pound catfish sat in the boat. Morris looked around and noticed that they were in the shadow of the pyramid. Their journey had been ordained by the Tomb of Doom itself. Morris told Hagel, "We're going to do it," and the rest is history. What Morris didn't find out until later was that if they had waited even 10 more minutes, the press conference would have gone on without an answer, and we might be living in a much darker timeline. Instead, the deal was made, and you can still see a photo of the blue catfish that made it all possible hanging above the pyramid's front door. And according to Morris, that fish is still swimming around the Mississippi to this day. After an interior redesign that cost more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime, the pyramid today is almost unrecognizable from the stadium it once was. Except for the fact that it's a pyramid. They didn't change that. Some of the new features are actually old plans that just never came to be. Remember that glass elevator they wanted in the original pyramid? Well, the Bass Pro Shop pyramid actually has itself a glass elevator that takes you to an observation deck and a restaurant with a fish tank in the middle. Down on the ground floor, there's obviously all the outdoor supplies anyone could ever want, as well as a bowling alley, a Wahlburgers, multiple fish tanks, a general store/fudge shop, and a luxury hotel. Basically, it's everything the Egyptians ever could have wanted. A one-way ticket to paradise. But why am I just telling you about it? I live like 30 minutes away. I can show you. I jumped into the Mississippi. Blue-scaled catfish swam with me. A city full of blues and honking cars, and the house of Elvis Presley. A pyramid stood before me. I saw its past and future. We can all go to paradise in a fake swamp. There are catfish right there, and there are some trout. Jumped into the Mississippi. Blue-scaled catfish swam with me. A city full of blues and honking cars, and the house of Elvis Presley. A pyramid stood before me. I saw its past and future. We can all go to paradise in a fake swamp. There are catfish right there, and there are some trout. There are catfish right there, and there are some trout. There are catfish right there, and there are some